Hey everybody, so I'm at the point where I need a 3,000 mile oil change. So this point is 3,000 miles almost exactly since my last oil change, and that would be 4,000 miles in total since the engine was rebuilt. And so far I really haven't had any significant concerns. My plan is I'm going to take an oil sample and I'm going to send that in for analysis for several things. One being, the oil analysis will tell me if there's any coolant in the oil. Do I have a leak coming in, like from an intake manifold gasket or something? It'll also tell me if my cam lobes are wearing or if my bearings are wearing. It'll give a good wear medal. So I have a kit, and when I drain the oil here in a few minutes, I'm going to catch a sample.
This is an oil sampling kit. I purchased this one through O'Reilly's. My local shop happened to have one on the shelf. It's a little less than $20. It includes the cost of the analysis. You just need to pay the postage to get it to Atlanta. And the kit also includes a form so you can tell them what kind of car, what kind of oil, all of the details they need to know to properly do that analysis.
If you're going to take an oil sample, first thing you want to do is make sure you get a clean one. So I got a little mineral spirits on a towel here. We'll wipe the pan in the area of the drain plug. I'll flip it over here and go a little further, because you don't want any contamination in the sample. I have the plug loose, and I have two jars here actually. And the first one I got to be a little careful with because it's glass and the oil's hot. The official oil sample, they want you to pick up the stream about when the pan's about halfway empty. So my first thing to do here is get this loose, and I want to catch the first bit of oil in the glass jar, and then I'm going to catch the rest of it in the other bin. Like so. It's hard to tell exactly how much is half, but it had a pretty good flow. I did warm the engine up until the engine was about on its thermostat. Guess I could have waited just a little longer to figure the halfway point, but we'll see how that works. I have a full jar. And the jar does have a fill line on it, so we'll pour out the excess here a little bit. Yeah, I'm a little full. There we go. So we'll get the filter off and finish the change here. The oil looks pretty good. It's dark, but considering 3,000 miles, there's no evidence of metallic in it. When I was taking my oil sample, one of the reasons I put one in a glass jar is if there were a gross amount of coolant or water in the oil, it ought to settle out to the bottom. And I don't really see anything like that in here.
Since I got the oil sample and I have gone ahead and sent it in, I held this video for a couple of weeks until the answer came back. It took me about 10 days for this report to come. But this is what you get back in a standard oil analysis report. Most of the information up here on this side you supply, it'll be your name and address and what kind of car it is and the engine and so forth, how much oil it holds. Those things go in the form that you mail with them. Uh, Along with some of the information, I supplied this information up on top, which is, the engine's got 4,000 miles. The time on the oil is a little under 3,000. There's my VR1 oil, and I changed both of them. Uh, this is the primary analysis, and what they give you is the metals, wear metals in parts per million. And so iron is 58, chrome is 2, lead is 25. So, iron is one of the biggest ones you'll get out of, cylinder walls and cam lobes and so forth. Lead and copper typically will come out of bearings, along with tin, and even some aluminum. Most of the others are very low in trace levels. Contaminants like silicon in particular is, sand, dirt, right? Or silica from silicone RTVs and so forth if you get too much. Down here, they're looking at the additives in the oil. So you can see this is the VR1 is, high zinc. It's supposed to be around 1200. And so you've got high phosphorus, high zinc. All the additives were there, and after 3,000 miles, all look good. Here was the part I was worried about the most. There's water. It's a very, very tiny amount of water, which would be probably a little condensation that hadn't burned off yet. And the coolant is zero, none. So that means I don't have any glycol leaks, any gasket leaks into the sump. This is the viscosity, says it's still 30 weight oil after 3,000 miles. And this base number, I believe when the oil's new, these oils are usually somewhere around 9 or 10. And then that number depletes over time as the additives wear out. So the oil at 3,000 miles is really still in pretty good shape. I did some looking for small block Chevy data out on the web, and for general engine data, and then small block Chevys. And 58's a little higher probably than some of the engines out in the world, but it was well within range for what you would expect on I found data for a 350, and this number wasn't out of line. And right now, I might want to track it because it may very well come down as wear diminishes. I would have maybe liked to see it in the 20s, 20, 25 or so, but the engine's still really finishing its break-in. One of the other things I found in oil sampling is that, when you change the oil, there's a lot of it left in the passageways. Maybe 20% is still there. So even though this is now the fourth change, the last change still had metallics in it. Fewer, but there were still some. You could see things floating in the oil, which you no longer see anymore. So in any case, the diagnosis from the technician in the lab was that he says wear levels appear satisfactory for a first sample. Dirt and sealant material is satisfactory. Water's acceptable. Viscosity still in range. So run it again and send us another sample, and we'll check it again the next time. He's got the serial number of the engine and my data, so if I do this again 3,000 miles down the road, I can kind of monitor it and see how it changes. I've done these oil samples when I was working in the business, more on transmissions than engines, just because I spent more time there. But this is a pretty handy tool to help you understand, without disassembling your engine or transmission, what the wear materials are. And you can submit oil samples for engine trans, gearboxes, rear axles, and understand the condition of the lube and whether you need to take any action, whether something's wearing badly. From this, I would say, my camshaft's in good shape. The bearings aren't wearing badly. Cylinders are probably broken in. So all in all, this one makes me feel pretty good. Good test. And by the way, I showed the sample kits earlier. If you if you have something different like a rear axle or some other kind of a gearbox that you don't want to change the oil, they do offer some kits where you have a little pump where you can extract a sample without disassembling or without changing the oil. So it's a really good technology, and it's worth using.